So you have ADHD and you're ready to go to college. What should you expect? How should you prepare for that experience? Has anyone ever told you what to do exactly so that you are ready to go to college and be successful? I'm going to tell you about those different things that you need to know so you know what exactly is going to happen and you're going to experience when you actually get to college and start your classes. So I want to know, do you ever enjoy actually taking a test? Because in college, you're going to have a lot of them. They're going to be more frequent. They're going to go over a lot more information, and they're probably going to be multiple choice a lot of the times. Now, with ADHD, a lot of times multiple choice might be harder because you're not only thinking about the options for answers under the questions, but you might be brainstorming about other things that could be right, but just are not on the test. And so it may take you longer to actually think about those things and come back to the test and really focus and find the answer that a professor wants. And those answers can be quite confusing because one little thing can be wrong and that answer is completely wrong in college. And that can be a real issue. Now, here are a couple quick tips for exams. One, get involved in a study group, in an in-person study group, because you're going to be able to hear the information more times. You're going to have someone to actually bounce answers and questions off of and get responses back. And that can be really valuable. The other thing is you want to make note cards or flashcards to where you have the information on the front and then a question on the back. And you're going to be able to ask that question to yourself and then look and see if you actually know the answer. And also, do you know about the actual accommodations for ADHD that you can get for taking tests and actually writing papers? Most colleges actually have a program for that. And so you just have to get in touch with your academic counselor or the department that actually handles all that. And you can actually get approved for accommodations to help you get more time on tests and papers and classwork. In college, the class sizes are a lot bigger. What was the biggest number of people in a class that you had? 20 people, 30 people? In college, when I walked into my first class, it was 500 people in a classroom. And you're probably wondering how you can get that many people in a classroom. It's a very big classroom. But the thing about it is, you walk into a room like that, you've never been in an area where you have that many people in one classroom. It can be overwhelming. You kind of do start feeling like just a number in the class. And it's really hard to kind of get your questions answered during class because there's so many people in there. Even a class of 75 people or 100 people can be a lot bigger than what you're used to. And so you have to prepare yourself for that when you're going into college so you don't get overwhelmed when you walk into a classroom that big, especially with that many people, if you're not used to being around that many people at one time for hours at a time generally. And do not be afraid to ask for help. If you need a tutor, go ahead and get a tutor or go to the tutoring sessions because that is where you can get more one-on-one individual help instead of just being in a class size that big and not being able to get all the information that you need or make sure you understand the concepts. This will give you that additional help that you need. So make sure that you actually do inquire about tutoring if you need to. And here's something else you'll be doing a lot in college. You will write a lot of papers in college. What was the longest, biggest paper you had in high school? Let me know in the comments. For me, it's about 2 or 3 different pages. Now, in college, when I got there, every paper just about that I wrote was 10 pages long. They had a different format you had to write in. Each teacher might have specific things they wanted in the paper, and those are different formats. You have multiple papers from multiple classes, and they all had to be due around the same time. And so you had to figure out, okay, this one includes this one includes that. And they even have like rules for certain sections and sources. So you have to learn all that stuff when you're in college. And over time, you'll get really good at what is included in what paper and this and that. And the biggest piece of advice I can give you with writing papers is learn how to actually write an outline for college because it's going to actually help you plan things out and know what points you're going to do and where you're going to go in certain sections of the paper and what's the intro and what's the conclusion, all that different stuff. I do have a video about how to actually write an outline. And so I'll link that in the comments, but it's really important because it's going to make it so that you actually stay on focus and everything actually lines up with the way it's supposed to be. So another question, You probably have your own room at home where you have all your things in there, there's enough space, and you feel, okay and comfortable in that room. When you go to college, generally you're going to be living in the dorms. The dorms or the dorm room is really small. And so you can't bring everything from home into the dorm room. You don't have anywhere near the amount of space you would have at home generally. And you have to really minimize what you bring and what is the essential thing. And the other thing about this is in this small room, you probably are going to have a roommate. And so not only are you not going to have the whole room to yourself, you're going to have to share the room with someone else and talk about being really close personal space because the room is not that big, it can be a real challenge for you. So that means you only get one side generally of this really small room. Now, the thing you can do is when you find out who your roommate is, because you'll know before you actually move in, you can contact them and kind of figure out, hey, I'll bring the microwave, you bring this, we'll kind of work together to make our room, a comfortable environment. And you hope that they're a really cool, nice person when you actually meet them and then start living with them in the dorm room. Now, a couple of really good things to have in your dorm room that you and your roommate can share. One is a rolling cart because you and your roommate can put stuff on there and then roll the cart around the room to whatever location you need it in. And it makes it really easy to access everything. Other things that you can have is you can have actually hanging shelves in your closet, which is going to take advantage of more space than you would have in your closet generally and give you extra shelves to put things on. And that's a really good way to actually utilize that space. And another thing that you can actually use as well is to have some sort of under the bed storage. You get bed risers, you lift your bed up a little bit, and then you're able to put stuff under the bed. And that's going to be another way to store different things, and you're going to be able to take advantage of space you normally wouldn't use. And I'll put links in the comments for these items and more college dorm organization items that you can look at and see which ones that you actually want. Now, if you are getting value out of the content, go ahead and click the subscribe button for me and share this out to anyone else who might need it. So I'm curious, what was your class schedule like in high school? Maybe you went to class at 7 a.m. and then got out at 3 p.m. and you had classes all day long, back to back to back. In college, that's generally not the case unless you just really plan it out that way. Generally, what happens is you have one class at like 8 a.m. and then you may not have another class until 1 p.m. and then you may not have another class till like 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. or even 6 p.m. So you have a lot of time in between classes and it can be this staggered schedule. Now, think about it is sometimes the classes are 1 hours, sometimes the classes are 2 hours, and I've even had 3 hour classes where I'm sitting in class from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. What are you going to do to kind of keep yourself paying attention for 3 hours at a time, or even an hour, which may be a little bit longer, hour and 15 minutes, maybe just a little bit longer than classes in high school. And so you go in with that expectation that classes not only might be a little bit longer, but how are you going to stay on schedule to remember one, where the classes are because they could be spread out all over campus, and two, to make sure that you don't miss a class just because there's so much time in between classes. So you want to figure out some way, maybe have timers or alarms and extra timers or alarms to make sure that you get into the schedule of going to class at this time. How much time do I need to get from one class to the next class? Because you might have one class on one side of the campus, and then on the other side of the campus might be your other class. And so, how much time is it going to take you to get from that class to the next class? So, you need to kind of plan all that out. And something else is, are you really sensitive to loud noises or being in a noisy environment? Well, college is really noisy and loud. So in your dorm, you could be just having a party every night with people in dorms and going from one dorm room to the next dorm room and loud music. You go to eat lunch, the cafeteria is just buzzing with sounds, especially if you have a lot of people in your college. It's gonna be a lot of people there. You might have parties on the weekend, and that's gonna be loud. And so everything, just about everything in the college is a loud environment a lot of times. And so you need to figure out and be prepared for that. hey, I can't study in my dorm room. I'm going to go to the library and study because I don't have to deal with all the noise from the dorm and people going in and out and doing whatever they're going to do. Noise canceling headphones are great because that way you don't have to worry about how much is going on around you in the dorm and everything. You have your noise canceling headphones, you put those on and you have silence and you hear only what you want to hear. I've got a great actually set of noise canceling headphones in the comments if you want to use that one or just find one. It's just well worth the money to get one, whether you're in any place in college, to make sure that you have a quiet environment for yourself if that's what you want. And something else is, how do you feel about being in a place that has distractions all the time? Parties, social clubs, events on campus, just anything in general that's always going on. Football games, basketball games, so many things that you can actually put your attention to other than actually doing schoolwork and everything. And, it's just one big, huge thing of dopamine in college because there's so much going on generally. So you just have to be aware of that and be like, hey, I can't go do this right now because I have to really study. I have to resist going over to that thing or being in that club or whatever it is because I need to get my schoolwork done. So just be aware that when you get to college, there's going to be a lot going on, and just kind of reel it back a little bit. And be aware of this: when you're in college and you turn 18, as soon as you turn 18, you're going to get offers from credit card companies and all sorts of different offers. Research them and make sure that it's the right thing for you because you don't want to just impulsively jump into something, especially with ADHD, and then get involved in something and it's not the right decision for you. And then you end up in some financial trouble down the road. So just be careful, be very, very careful because it can be a super impulsive thing like, oh, yeah, I want to do this, want to do that, want to do this. And then it just becomes too much over time. And here's something else to think about. I do have a video about how to study for an exam and pass an exam when you have ADHD. So you can actually go watch that video. It'll come up on the screen. Just press the link and it will take you to it.